Hi, welcome to TorontoTV. I'm the host for tonight, Eric Lau, and thank you for joining our segment Career Outlook for 2009. Today we have a very special guest for tonight's segment, and I'm very privileged to have on board tonight with us Stuart Browne. Um, Stuart is a very distinguished guest. Has basically as recently a recent graduates of the prestigious Schulich School of Business. Had been a marketing director for a multinational organization with offices throughout Canada, for US, Europe, and also in Asia. He's also an entrepreneur, also a film director, and most importantly, a former host here at Toronto TV. So let's give a big round of applause for our guest, Stuart.
Great. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit and share with I guess our audience a little bit more about I guess your what's your recent kind of endeavors. I know a lot of people probably kind of remembers you from your colorful past within Toronto TV.
Okay, well, I actually just finished my MBA about a month and a half ago, and the project that I've been working on recently, as you mentioned, was an entrepreneurial venture, and that's actually in the junior mining sector.
Oh, okay. So how's that coming along right now? Is it more of the stages is going well right now?
Yeah, everything seems to be going well so far. We've only been working on this company, my business partner, and I, only for about a month and a half since I finished my MBA program. But within that period of time, we've been meeting with a lot of people in the mining industry, and we've been throwing our idea at them, various mining engineers, geologists, people from the region of Zimbabwe where we plan on setting up our mine. And we've been getting a lot of encouragement. They like our strategy, they like our plan. So we're basically at the stage right now where we're going to start putting together a formal business plan, and then we hope to start shopping that around for actual investors.
Well, it sounds very, very interesting, and I'm sure it's you're going to have a lot of success with this great venture that you have going for you, and hopefully come back when you are a CEO of a publicly listed mining company and share with us your great experience building up that business. Yeah.
Either I will come or my PR rep
Yeah.
will come
Okay.
back.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess for tonight, Simon, just wanted to I guess have a friendly chat and also maybe have you share some of your experience going through the MBA program and talk to some of the I guess audience out there that might be considering going into an MBA program or those that are maybe in the progress and just wanted to see what type of options they have coming out in the job market. So yeah, so why don't we just talk about I guess your personal decision? Why did you decide to do an MBA?
Well, as you mentioned before, I was a managing director in a marketing department for a manufacturing company. And while I was working with them, I was having a lot of success and having a great time doing the job. But then I realized that my passion kind of lay elsewhere. I was very interested in finance. I really wanted to break into that industry. So then I was thinking, okay, what's my best approach to get into that industry? So I needed to learn more about the technical skills about finance. I needed to network, meet people in the industry, meet people who are like-minded, and I needed to go through kind of a transitional period which took me from my previous background into the area that I wanted to get into. So after doing some research, talking to some people in the finance industry, talking to the CFO of the company I was working at, everyone basically pointed me into the direction of MBA school. It basically reached all of those requirements.
Okay. So I bet it's definitely a very expensive investment. I assume I've heard a lot of people kind of spending a lot of fortune. Like so, just out of curiosity, how much does a typical MBA cost?
Well, the Schulich School of Business cost about in the low 40s,
Okay.
40,000, give or
Okay.
take. I think the prices went up recently.
Oh wow.
Rotman, which is another top-ranking school in Canada, I believe they charge a lot more, which is 60,000. IV, from my understanding, is around that much as well.
Yeah.
So it is a very big investment, and MBA school is not for everyone. So I would definitely recommend if you are thinking about doing a career transition or taking your career to the next level, make sure you do a lot of research and due diligence, as I did, to make sure that you're making the right decision.
Okay. So what are you did hit upon some of the other MBA school like the Rodman, the Ivy, obviously the Schulich School of Business. Do you like? I know it's probably not a fair question, but like, How do you determine what would be a good MBA program in your mind?
Well, once again, it does a lot of it depend on what you want to get into with your future career when you finish MBA school. And if you want to get into an industry such as finance, it's always good to come from a very reputable school. So it's good to choose a school that's well known. Plus, that's also a way to make sure that the quality of education that you're getting is top notch. There's some other lesser known schools out there that I'm sure have a good program, but when it comes to MBA schools, it's very advantageous within a lot of fields such as finance or marketing to go to a well-known school.
Okay. So what are, I guess, a key question is, let's say someone who is in a good job, seems to be a promising career, but decided to go and do the MBA. What type of career option are available for, I guess, a typical MBA graduates that you can share with the audience?
Well, I mean, actually, to go back to your other point, what school should you choose for? I think Schulich is a great program because they have a number of different concentrations. A number of schools like Queens or Ivy, I think they are more focused on consulting and finance, whereas Schulich, they have a very strong focus on those categories, but then they also have a concentration on topics such as sustainability, public relations, working in the public sector for the government, working in healthcare. So, I mean, there is a variety of avenues somebody can take. And if somebody has a former job in something that's not business related, like maybe they're a physiotherapist, for example, and they want to become a manager of a physiotherapist center, then perhaps they might want to investigate taking an MBA program so they learn the management skills, they learn the finance skills, and they learn the, general business and even marketing skills that will make them excel at that career.
Okay, okay. So, any requirements that one need to take, like any basic like university undergrads, and any additional kind of work experience that's required for an MBA program?
Yes, for the higher ranking program or higher ranking schools rather, it's critical, of course, to have an undergraduate degree. It doesn't matter in what, but as long as you have a degree from a registered school. You also need to have a fairly decent grade point average from your undergraduate program, and you also have to have work experience.
Okay.
And of course, you have to write an entry exam called the GMAT. And within these different requirements to get into the school, depending on they don't have any strict things that they look at or levels that they look at in terms of grades or work experience, but you have to have, they look at your overall package. For example, if you have some great work experience, but your grades from undergrad weren't very strong, they still might consider you. Or vice versa. If you have killer grades in your undergrad, you do really well on the GMAT, but you've maybe only worked for a year or two, then they might consider that as well. So they try to look at the overall package of each candidate for the program.
Okay. So just getting a little bit more into the, I guess, some of the prerequisites and requirements for someone that wanted to pursue an MBA degree or program. If someone were to require any, is there any financing program? Like I know you mentioned it is quite an investment, like for a luxury car almost. So if someone do require some financial aid, is there any avenues one can kind of pursue to help them up in terms of the financing?
Yes, definitely. There's scholarships and bursaries. There's OSAP.
Okay.
One other thing to mention, now, as I'm sure many of our audience has heard, it's a great time to go back to school because the economy is in a downturn. If you've lost your job, it's a great time to up your value by taking a program such as an MBA program. one thing to mention, though, with all the people who are hearing this exactly the same advice in the news everywhere, it's going to make each school that much more difficult to get into. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, with all the new people, as you mentioned, that want to go back to school to improve, improve their education. That's definitely, it's probably better to get in earlier than later.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and I do heard of there's some program is more designed for like a part-time studies, and I do understand that you did committed like a 2-year program. So do you what's your thought in terms of doing MBA full-time versus doing an MBA kind of part-time?
Well, it all depends on what you want to get out of the MBA program. I think that if you are focused on doing a career transition, I think the best advice would be to do a full program. That way you're immersing yourself in MBA school. You're getting to know people
Yes.
who are in the same program that you're in, who have the same interests, who are applying for the same jobs. So you're building your network in this new field that you want to get into.
Yeah.
And that was my case. I decided to go into the school full time, and I think it was a great decision. If all you need, if you have a great job, you don't want to leave it, and all you need is just those 3 letters at the end of your name to advance in your career in that same company, then definitely you might want to consider doing a part-time.
Yes.
That's ways you get the best of all worlds. But then again, keep in mind that your network from school is not going to be as tight as somebody who went full-time.
Okay. So another questions I have is I've heard a lot of different well, and it's true because Canada is a very multinational environment with a lot of different culture. What are the kind of would you say 1 or 2 kind of MBA etiquettes, like in terms of like while working in a group projects or group studies that one should be aware of in term before they go into the MBA program, like things like in terms of being committed to meeting times, things like that. Like what should someone be prepared to do when they do go into that program?
Well, it's all about maintaining your reputation or building it. You want to. People at MBA school are extreme Type A personalities. So I mean, I guess it's kind of a given that you have to show up to your meetings on time or early. You have to have all of your work done above and beyond when it's due. Be careful of trying to take charge. You got to know when to take charge and when not to take charge, because you're dealing with a lot of, like I said, Type A personalities. Everyone wants to be, Mr. Bill Gates or whoever. And you just have to realize that keep your prime directive always in mind when you're in school. And one of them, of course, is getting good marks. But another one which is just as important is creating a very strong network.
Okay.
Because when you graduate, and you might not see it pay dividends right away, but all these people that you're in school with, they're going to one day be running companies, or they're going to be a potential employer, or it's always great to have a network of people who are in a higher level, and surround yourself and solidify yourself among those people to make sure that you're successful and you all grow together and help each other out.
No, that's really good advice from people that's, I guess, considering going to the program and to see what type of option and just to get themselves prepared for the MBA program. So I guess moving on to a couple of key things, and I think I would say a lot of people, their main concern, I guess, is that the return on investment. I guess, show me the money. So what do a typical MBA should expect in terms of salary that they when they do graduate with the MBA degree?
Well, a lot of MBA schools post, and they're actually ranked on this as well, how much the average graduate is making when they graduate from school. And it floats around 100,000, to a little bit more, to a little bit less, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't really think that's such a. First of all, to know how they get that information and get those statistics is a little suspect, in my opinion. You don't know what students they're looking at and how they're choosing them, or what year or whatever. My advice would be to keep an open mind. I mean, the economy is doing some crazy things right now, so you can't expect to be making as much as students have previously. Yet, it's possible you could make more.
Okay.
So, often when you go in for a job interview, your employer might say, like, what do you expect to make?
Yes.
So you have to answer that question. I mean, you would probably know this a hell of a lot better than I would with your background, helping being a consultant with recruiting. But in my opinion, please correct me if I'm wrong, it makes sense to say maybe you would be open to going for the average going rate without being specific, because you don't want to highball yourself and turn them off and seem overconfident. Yet again, you don't want to undercut yourself as well.
I guess is exactly what everything you said is 100% true. Given the market condition, a lot of people that used to see the 100K or even like 120, 130 after getting the MBA designation would probably be a little bit disappointed that there is probably not going to be too much of those $100,000 jobs out there once you get your MBA. It is a very competitive market out there, and I guess right now is more to be more defensive and just I hate to say it, but you shouldn't really put the dollar as the most important factor when choosing that job opportunity. It's more about the career growth and opportunity and development. So exactly right. So, yeah. So just in terms of a career path, I know we talked about a little bit about finance, and from my understanding, a typical career path for an MBA would be more management, finance, and consulting. Any other kind of career? I know you, Stuart, is more of going into the entrepreneur, which is like an avenue that I do understand some MBA do pursue right after they obtain their MBA degree. But any other interesting career path that you've heard of, or maybe some of your friends that have pursued after getting the MBA, other than the typical kind of finance, management, or consulting type of role?
I would think the most interesting areas that people would get into is the entrepreneur one. Because, I mean, that can encompass any field, any industry, anything. I know a guy who's completely inventing his own type of business, which is a company that's it's a website that basically rates companies in terms of their level of environmentally friendliness, for lack of a better term. And then there's some other things that are included in that in terms of like carbon credits and planting trees on behalf of companies and that sort of thing. So I can't give too many details because he's still in the developmental stage of the concept.
Confidential.
It's definitely confidential situation there, but I mean that idea is definitely extremely innovative, and I think he's getting into it at the right time. So that's definitely something that's interesting. There was another guy who is actually in the arts and media concentration of the marketing program at Schulich. And he's very much into music. He had a band while he was at school. That was his extracurricular activity. And he's starting a company right now with a group of other like-minded students. And what it is basically open source music.
Wow.
Where they have a music program on the internet where you can upload your music, and then it divides it up into the different tracks that you recorded each instrument on, and then you could have it open source to basically anyone who has internet access all over the world. They could take what you've created and then they could add on to it. Wow. And that could just keep going and going and going until you have this piece of music with influences and artists from all over the world.
Wow, that's actually a very, very innovative concept. I never heard of. But
I think it's a great idea,
yeah.
And it's very much my friend. It's a good friend of mine. It's very much his personality. This collaborative, experimental, artsy kind of thing.
Yeah. You can almost apply that to maybe even doing a short film where you because I know you are also an avid film director and producer and writer and actor as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. You could actually do that.
Yeah. Do like a 5-minute clip and then put it online and then
have people add onto it.
Yeah, exactly. And make it a full feature that way.
Yeah, that is a really good idea, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's great, Stuart. I mean, like you've definitely added a lot of values in terms of providing our audiences to, like those that might be considering going into the MBA program, and those that might be close to graduating and thinking about what are the career choices that they do have. It's very insightful. Like I've learned personally learned a lot from your sharing with us, and I really do appreciate all that and for coming on board to be a guest with us. And I truly
Yeah,
thank
no
you.
problem.
Yeah,
Anytime, Eric.
yeah. So well. I guess that's it for today's segment, and thank you for joining us at Toronto TV. Have a great day. Take care.